We are going to kick off the excitement this morning with somebody. I was just talking with Brad Yasser, one of the hugest players in the blockchain crypto investment space, and he's sitting with our speaker right now, and he said, oh, CoinMarketCap? You better believe that's like on my permanent tabs open all the time. He's got them ready. CoinMarketCap is a giant in this industry. I strongly suspect that everybody in this room has CoinMarketCap on their browser, open all the time. We have their global head of marketing here today. She's been an entrepreneur who's launched her own businesses, worked deep in the AI space, but she's also done the big corporate work with 3M, AGT, American Express to help them launch products from Hong Kong to India. She knows the space, and she's going to come and share some of their vision today. A lot of you know the brand, you know the company, you know the data, but now you're going to get to see the face of CoinMarketCap. Please welcome Carylyne Chan. Carylyne, come on up, please. Let's hear it for her, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you.
I think it's really hard to match Andrew's energy on stage, so I'm going to try to do that. So, sorry, I think, can you rewind my slides, please, to the top? So I think just as an intro, my name is Carylyne, and I am the global head of marketing at CoinMarketCap. So I think most of you do know CoinMarketCap as the place where you go to check info on, let's say, cryptocurrency prices or exchange volumes, and so on. So today we want to talk a little bit more about that data. Like, where do we get that data? What does the pipeline look like? And just how we think about evolving the business of crypto data moving forward. So for a primer for those of you who don't know, CoinMarketCap is one of the most trafficked sites for cryptocurrencies, definitely number one in terms of traffic. So we are top 500 globally as ranked by Alexa. So people do come on and look at the site data all times of the day. I know lots of people who wake up to CoinMarketCap and go to sleep to CoinMarketCap. So I think that gives us a sense of where the significance of crypto to many of the people in our space, just looking at the prices day in and day out. So when we started, that was in 2013, and we've always been really independent. We've always focused on being the info provider in the space. Like, we've never taken any investment, we've never invested in anything, and that has given us an edge in terms of always being unbiased and really pushing only the crypto data and info side of it. So as we went along, we actually popularized some of the standard terms that are used in the industry that we refer to. So market capitalization, as you can see from the name CoinMarketCap, that was something that we started with. So that was a way for us to rank various cryptocurrencies versus Bitcoin at a point in time. So the founder realized that there was no easy way to value or measure the value of other cryptocurrencies versus Bitcoin at that point in time. So he started CoinMarketCap. And another metric that would be similar to that that we also pioneered would be circulating supply. So we borrowed circulating supply as a term from the equities market. So the concept is public float. So for circulating supply, it is similar in the sense that we're trying to figure out how much of a coin or token is actually circulating in the hands of the public that could actually buy and trade it. And Bitcoin dominance, which is just percentage of Bitcoin market cap versus the entire total market cap. So as far as I can tell, these metrics are continuing to be used by whether it's news media or other information sites as well. So over time, I think we have become the data standard for crypto. So we have, with our focus on ensuring that the data that we provide is, like following the metrics, following our methodology, that has become something that we have done to shape the way that we talk about crypto data in this space. So if you look at the diagram on the left, I think it's probably not really clear, but basically what happens to get to that data pipeline is first we integrate with 200 plus exchanges currently on CoinMarketCap. So we take in all the data from them, and first we run validity checks to make sure that the data is valid. So looking at things like missing data or abnormal data. So for example, if Bitcoin price is 3,700 on most sites, but it's abnormal, let's say 5K or 6K on another site. Like, we usually detect that automatically, and then we would check that doesn't get into the data if it's too abnormal or skewing the data too much. And then once we do that, we save that to we ran the calculations, which is the volume weighted average price. So that's basically the data on CoinMarketCap. We take all the price averages and weight them by volume. So we would save that to our database, and then we will pipe that out to everything that you see on the website, on the API, and however you interact with our data, whether that's maybe on a widget or on another site. So I think another piece of data that's really interesting for me is the traffic data that we have on the site. So last year alone, I think we had about 3.6 billion page views and about 125 million unique active users. So I think that gave us a pretty good sense of where everyone's at in terms of what they're interested in, where they are based. So to break that down a little bit, we see that about 36% of our users from the Americas, about 35 from Europe, about 24 from Asia, so and the rest from the rest of the world. So I think this was a pretty indicative view of how our users are spread around the world and the kind of interests that they all have. So sometimes we get really surprised guests. So one of the funny things last year was I noticed last year apparently we had 36 users from North Korea. So I think it's a pretty interesting point of view to see like crypto is truly global. And here in Hong Kong, we are actually fourth in terms of the East Asia region. So of course behind countries like China, Korea, Japan, and then it's Hong Kong in the fourth place in terms of number of users on CoinMarketCap. So when we look at some of the interests that Hong Kong users have, I think the question was like, how different is that from the rest of the world? So I think the usual suspects show up on the international list: Bitcoin, XRP, Tron, Ethereum, and so on. And I think Hong Kong, the only thing that really stood out that was different is Decred. So I guess people here care about governance. So I think that was an interesting data point. And another. And it always varies by country to country, right? So I think recently when we looked at some of the Vietnam data, apparently last year in Vietnam, the number 5 most visited project in Vietnam was BitConnect. So what's up? What's up? So I guess that was pretty interesting data that we could see differences across different countries and just how that plays out over time. So if we zoom in a little bit more to Hong Kong data, another thing that we track on the site in terms of data is fiat data pairs. So market pairs. So we have about 16,000 market pairs that we track on the site, and about 2,290 of those are fiat pairs. So basically USD to something or HKD to something. That's a fiat pairing that we track on the site. So we have about 38 fiat currencies that we track, and out of those, about 10 of them are Hong Kong dollar pairs, and from 4 exchanges. So those are Tightbit, Stellar Term, Gitcoin, and Liquid. So I think those are the 4 exchanges that we actually have data from for Hong Kong dollar pairs. And in total, I think about 1.1 million US dollars of volume actually come from the Hong Kong dollar pairs. They are traded on these 4 exchanges. So that's basically just a fraction of like total fiat pairs fiat pair volume that we actually track in a 24-hour period. But to be honest, I think there's still a lot that can be done. If we look at the data for fiat pairings on the site, only 13% are fiat pairings versus the rest, which are all just crypto to crypto. So for example, Bitcoin to ETH and so on. So like that's a crypto pair. So for us, fiat pairings is still only a small percentage. So I think there's still more stuff that we can do to help to onboard people and allow them to buy cryptocurrencies with fiat. But at the same time, for those that we already do have on the site, that's USD markets actually lead the pack. About 32% of all the fiat pairs that we have are USD, followed by South Korean won, followed by Euro, Rupee, and the Turkish lira. So I think we can see that the USD markets still dominate some of the fiat pairings that we continue to see on the site. But on the other hand, actually I think we are pretty happy to say that many of the institutions and many of the enterprises and governments are actually using our data to track and understand what they can do in the crypto space. So I think we have a unique view of that because most of them are using our data to run their own research or do their own kind of internal risk assessments of what to do with their own blockchain projects or their own crypto projects. So that has been a view that a lens through which we can look at the kind of interest that people have had on the crypto side for the institutions or the governments who are interested in crypto. So, for example, we are also working with a partner called Vela. So Vela is actually helping us to deliver our crypto data through a super feed. So that super feed is basically a way for many of the institutions to get really high fidelity data access for in a format that's kind of familiar to them, like through the Open Mama framework and through trade venues that they can choose. So I think things like that are actually helping to push forward the availability of the data for institutions and for governments in a format that they can accept. Some of the use cases that we do see that they are working on, so on the regulator side, many of them are using the data to do their own research to inform policy decisions, like what to do with cryptocurrencies as general financial stability assessments. And then some of them are also using at monitoring the risk that crypto is bringing to their financial ecosystems. And also they publish special reports, whether that's internally or externally, to inform their decisions on the general space of crypto as a comparison to the rest of the economy. And on the companies or institutional side, many of them are using it to build their own crypto products. Maybe that's like back office solutions or conversion solutions or just internal education. I think those are all things that they have been using the data for. Even a blockchain phone, like that also happens. And another thing that they are doing is creating crypto derivatives, let's say indices on top of our data. So speaking of indices, we are actually going to launch our own indices as well. So we will be, we do have a cryptocurrency benchmark index that we will be launching this month. So it will be launching on some of the major exchange and financial information sites. So we will announce that pretty soon. But the idea is, for us, pioneering the market capitalization concept, we wanted to have a way for people to more easily reference how to look at the market in a consistent fashion. So an index actually helps to do that. So with a single number, you can tell whether the market's going up or down, and you don't have to refer to the market cap number. So if you're a new person to crypto, you probably think like 130 billion is the norm, or like, so it kind of like it's bounded within that range. But you probably might not know that like last year we had up to like 900 billion in market cap. So with an index, you can actually tell just with a single number at a single glance that there is such a big change, and you can make assumptions or decisions based on that. So in order for us to do this in a really scientific manner, we partner with Selective, which is a German index engineering firm. So they also calculated the CBOE Bitcoin Futures Index. So we are working with them to ensure that they can administer and really ensure that our methodology is followed to the letter. So that's something that we have been really focusing on to ensure that people have even more access to even more new data points that they can use to evaluate the crypto space. So the actual indices that we will be launching are the top 200 cryptocurrencies by market cap and top 200 cryptocurrencies by market cap excluding Bitcoin. So with the top 200 cryptocurrencies including Bitcoin, that actually already covers 90% of the market by market cap. And the one without Bitcoin is basically a way for people to know, without that influence of Bitcoin, we talked about Bitcoin dominance, maybe right now it's about 52%. So without that overt influence on the crypto space, like how does every other cryptocurrency stand up to Bitcoin in the grand scheme of things in the market cap at that point in time? So I think those two are the indices that we'll be launching. And then shortly after, we will also be producing investable indices, so people can actually create other indices or other derivatives on top of that index, and followed by also reference prices, so like the real reference price of Bitcoin and Ethereum and some other major cryptocurrencies, so that people can also have a price that they can quote with certainty at any point in time when they need to, let's say, do a business transaction or so on. So that will be the reference price that we'll also be launching after some of these indices. So some people have actually asked us, why do we even need an index? So I think other than when we look at other asset classes, there always is an index that represents a market or an asset class or a segment. So I think an index is basically a way that people can look at a single piece of data and understand intuitively what's happening within that space. So for us, I think that's important. Like in crypto, we never really had something like that that is widespread and really widely adopted. So I think giving people a way to understand and access the data in a way that's familiar to them, to the wider financial market, I think that's something that would really drive us forward and really bring us to the wider financial market in a sense that they would now be able to have access to all these benchmarks that they can do as they become more curious, as they understand more stuff about crypto, to adopt some of these benchmarks for their own internal analysis and their own investments. So hopefully something like that would be just the first step to drive greater adoption and greater awareness and understanding of the crypto market by the wider financial market. So I think hopefully you learned some stuff about how our data is processed, our data pipeline, how we are working on some of the new initiatives at CoinMarketCap for continuing to drive data adoption and greater crypto awareness through that data. We continue to invest a lot in educational initiatives. We do have a newsletter, we have a Telegram bot that actually has daily market updates and also educational content that we share every single day. So if you know someone who really wants to learn about crypto but hasn't really put the time into it, I think these are really quick, easy, fun ways for them to interact with more crypto information in a really bite-sized fashion. So we're here today at the booth, so if you want to talk to us about using our indices or some of our data APIs and stuff, feel free to talk to us. I think all of us at the booth are pretty familiar with how the data works and how we can help to tailor that to your business. So look forward to having that conversation with you, and thank you so much for listening.
Carylyne Chan from CoinMarketCap, thank you so much. Great presentation. And are you going to be available here today?
Yes.
You have a booth?
Yes, we have a huge one.
Okay, good. So guys, please find her at the huge booth right outside here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Carylyne Chan from CoinMarketCap. Thank you very much.